Hello and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Friday and welcome to this week's new episode of Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. Folks, we got an absolutely outstanding show. Two bomb topics to spend your Friday morning hanging out with Fuzzy Belvedere and Silent Cypher making his grandest return. Korkenstein cannot be with us today. He got called into work for a meeting. He will be rejoining us as he normally does next Friday. And listen, we're going to get into it. The two topics we're going to have be broken down is, well, Fable just had its 20th anniversary, and that is dope. I mean, my excitement for playground games, retelling or, however you want to put it, whether it's going to be a continuation of Albion and the stories that we know, or this is going to be a full-on, from the ground up, new tale. We don't know specifically. We do know there is a new character. It is a female lead. It does not appear to be a RPG traditionally where you make your character, and I am perfectly okay with that. I think the lead that they have is awesome. I'm very excited to know her story. And listen, what we saw in June was pretty damn amazing. I have it in my in my gut, if you will, that this is going to be one of the biggest releases of 2025. And I know there's going to be some people pushing back about, well, what about Grand Theft Auto? I have a feeling that's getting pushed out. It's Rockstar. It's just what they do, and they're not going to release it until it's perfect. And there's also, remember, there's still a voice actor strike, I believe, still going on. And if that in fact is the case, will it hamper it? They say no, but I don't know. I mean, we will certainly see. But the main crux of today's conversation, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be about the remake Station 5. Because apparently that seems to be the running narrative for the PlayStation 5 since inception. Now, they've had a bunch of games that have released that are original IP, but not many. The console itself has seen a ridiculous amount of PlayStation 4 games remastered to PlayStation 5. Of course, those are $10 upgrade fees. And now, well, with the Pro coming out in November, I think it's safe to admit or say or even expect that if you are a PlayStation 5 Pro buyer, which I believe is only going to be about 6% at best at the populace because of the price, you are certainly not going to be given these upgrades for free. It's Sony. I mean, for crying out loud, they just on the sneak tip raised the controllers by $5 and didn't even tell you. So if you think they're going to give these upgrades away for free, I don't think that is happening. So we're going to get into that because, again, there is a state of play that is, well, pretty much confirmed. Jeff Grubb talked about it multiple times, that is happening on the 24th. And there is expected to be a couple of remasters there, one of which is going to be Horizon Zero Dawn, which no one actually asked for. The other rumored game, well, that is Days Gone, is getting a PlayStation 5 Pro remaster. And, well, I mean, great game. And you know what? A lot of the games they did remaster are games that I have beaten. I have quite enjoyed. But I don't think it's enough. And I don't think that the press is giving the business to them as they should, because, quite frankly, I think we've come around to it. PlayStation doesn't have games, folks, that are not remasters. But we're going to get into all of that. Before we get there, Silent Cypher, welcome back, kind sir. How you feeling?
Good morning. I'm doing well. I'm weeks away from being sick, and so I'm finally feeling better. Finally playing some video games again. It's great to be with you guys again. It really threw me off my schedule when I woke up on a Friday and I wasn't hanging out with you gentlemen. So it's good to be back. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the conversation. I think there's going to be some spicy tidbits on this because there's some interesting stuff going on right now. Definitely deserves a deep dive.
Oh, absolutely. And again, folks, if you notice, whenever there's slander, well, Silent Cypher is there to drop his knowledge and hot take opinions. We're happy to have him. Fuzzy Belvedere, we had a great conversation on Monday, and you're back. You're bookending the week on Breakfast with Boom as you normally do. We got some real spicy topics to get into. Let's talk about it. First of all, how you feeling?
Oh, feeling great. Glad to be here with you guys. It's PlayStation's new rule book is remasters and remakes, even remaking their console with anniversary stuff. So, we'll get into it.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, we've seen some really pointed breakdowns of what the Pro is, and a lot of it isn't really that good, to be honest with you. I just don't think it justifies the inflated cost. The cost is really outrageous. And folks, FYI, if you happen to be on the hunt for, let's say, the disk drive for, well, yourself or potential eBay shenanigans, just go and look at how many of those have been added to eBay in the last 4 days. It is unfreaking believable. But that's because I know a lot of people, push back, especially with my thought and theory regarding wanting a disk drive. So before we get into the topics and why I've been really kind of angling you need the disk drive is this. I'm a fighting game fan. I'm an OG fighting game fan from way back in the days. Now, a couple of years ago, they released a Samurai Showdown game, and like Tekken, it's 3D, or like Soul Calibur, and it happened to pop up in my recommendations, and I actually had forgotten about it. So I'm like, okay, let me go to Xbox and see what it is. And the deluxe edition today, because I reconfirmed before we went live, with the battle pass and all of the characters. Now this game is old, man. $80. It's still $79.99. Don't you know? I go to Amazon and I find the exact same thing with the disc, physical and all, for $19.87. Literally a fourth of the cost. And that is why if it's available, I'm always going to own a disk drive for my console, whether that be for the Switch 2, the PS6, if there is one, the next Xbox. If there is a disk drive version, that is why I'm going to do it. And this is why you should do it, because at least you have a choice that, I mean, again, listen, where are you that freaking lazy that you'd rather spend $80 not to get off your couch to put a disc in? You know what? I'll save the $60 and I'll get my ass off the couch. It's extra steps anyway. And I wear a watch that does the step counter. So there you go. But, gentlemen, I want to open up with positivity. Well, we got some positivity with this story, but a bit of smoke for Xbox. Now, Fable is one of the biggest games, at least for me, in first party since it's been announced, that I'm excited for. Now, we all had questions on whether or not it was going to be representative of what came before it in the three Fables. It was going to have that quirkiness. Was it going to have that British-like humor that it's known for? Are we going to be able to actually kick some chickens? Well, the kicking chicken part, I'm not exactly sure, but I can say that the charm of Fable seems to be intact in what Playground Games is doing. Now, they just had their 20th anniversary, folks. And that is great. And I'm very excited for it. But this is kind of where I got a little smoke for Xbox. Now, specifically, the original Fable, if you did not know, maybe you weren't even born yet. I mean, it's possible, right? Was the September 14th, 2004. This was the original Xbox release of course, Fable. It just celebrated its 20th anniversary, I don't know, 6 days ago, because today's the 20th. Now, where I mean, again, we're going to get into the positivity about why I believe this is the biggest game of 2025. Hands down, based on what we've seen, it's going to be big. And it's going to be, I mean, like exactly what Xbox gamers have been asking for. That third person, story driven, adult themed, like lifelike graphics. Very similar to what Sony puts out. And again, your mileage is going to vary on whether or not you like those games. I happen to very much like those games. So, Silent Cypher, where I kind of give smoke a little bit is the lack of celebration from Xbox. You don't really get the 20th anniversary of things in this world that could or should be celebrated because, something that's 20 years old, maybe it doesn't deserve it. But I think Fable does. And where I think Microsoft, and again, this is one of those things where I believe they missed the mark. I know the game isn't coming out this year. It's next year, more than likely in the holiday. But what we could have gotten is a new gameplay trailer, right? We could have gotten a developer's deep dive or direct of sorts. Put a 10, a 12-minute, hey, we at Playground wanted to celebrate, want to say that we're hard at work at finishing off Fable, and what we've made is really going to delight everybody, especially if you're a fan. And we're going to give you a behind the scenes. It didn't have to be extensive. It didn't have to be a 9-minute gameplay trailer. It could have been just a deep dive. It could have been just a peek behind the curtain of what the devs are doing. They could have shown maybe 45 seconds to a minute of new gameplay. Show off maybe some of the magic she's going to do. Show off a boss fight, something, right? But no, we didn't get that. So if you didn't want to put it out there, okay, I hear you. Maybe the team didn't want to do that. But it's the 20th anniversary of Fable. So what? We can get a controller that looks like it's on fire, or it looks like it has frost that no one gives a shit about, or we can get a Fable 20th anniversary controller that you could actually make with the original template on the design labs. And you know what? You don't even have to spend the marketing dollars to, send it out to the stores. You could literally say, hey, Fable fans, we're dropping something special into Xbox Design Labs, and you could make your 20th anniversary Fable controller. I mean, now I'm not going to steal the idea from Fuzzy because he had a phenomenal idea. So I'm not going to say what else they should have done. But again, this isn't not piling on Xbox, and we're here to celebrate the 20th anniversary. I just think that as incredible as this franchise has been, and it's been stuck on the Xbox 360. Granted, you can play it on your Series X right now, but I mean, the controls are old. The graphics only can do so much. I think we could have and should have gotten something to celebrate the 20th anniversary. What are your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, it's a bit of a head scratcher, I would say, because you look at it and it just feels like, and maybe I'm the only one who sees it this way, but I feel like Microsoft doesn't really celebrate its IPs and franchise necessarily in the way you would expect for something like this. Like the fact that Fable has been around for as long as it has, and the fact that there's a new game after all these years of dormancy, right? Like you would think it'd be something that they'd be really excited to promote and advertise and get out there and do. But I guess it goes back to the same old behavior that we've seen with Microsoft, which is in general, communication, marketing, stuff like that doesn't exist. They're paying someone to do the job, but I don't know what the hell that person's doing. Because
they're getting a lot of zeros, I can tell you that.
I just don't see it. And I think, you mentioned something like the controllers, right? Out of nowhere, we just have these random ones that get announced and get released. I have no idea what they're tied to. There's no cross promotion. There's no reasoning as to why we just randomly got this new controller. That being said, like that Sky Cipher Blue, it's awesome. I just got it in the mail and I love it. But I guess my thing is like, why just release a random controller for no reason when you could release like a Fable controller tied into a 20th anniversary, like you're mentioning? Is like, why not do something like that? It makes all the sense. You had a Fallout controller on the actual like controller. What was it? It was on their Design Labs
Yes,
site.
I bought it.
So these things are possible. They have the options. It's not like the 20th anniversary suddenly snuck up on them. And they're like, oh, geez,
Yeah.
it's 20 years with Fable. I didn't even realize. Like, dude, it's your own IP. Celebrate the IP and actually put some support out there. Like, put some shirts in the store. Like, do some stuff. At least make it a thing. But I feel like you see something like this, and it gets received like a wet fart in an
Yep.
elevator. Like everyone's just like, "What was that? Like, what happened?" Because everyone's just scratching their head wondering like what are we doing? Like Microsoft has plenty of money. They could do this proper, but it's like they just choose to shoot themselves in the foot over and over again when they have an easy win. This would
Yeah.
be an easy win.
This is a layup, brother.
If you told all of us, "Hey, we're not doing a console, right? But we're doing a controller or we're doing a headset or we're doing something like that," it would go a long ways because that's the whole idea, right? Like we want to get more attention onto when this new one comes out, right? So start building up that hype train. But instead, this 20-year anniversary hits and they did nothing.
Nothing.
And
Yeah.
I think the thing that annoys me, like I know you were going for a positive vibe on this one. The fact
But
that like
I want us
Fable's
to be. I
going
want us to be
awesome.
honest. Yeah, honesty is the best policy. And you know what? When what I never want to be accused of is not laying down the smoke when it's deserved. I don't make excuses for these billion-dollar companies. I just will not. And as a diehard Xbox, if you will, I want to see them do some celebratory things. This is a layup. This is as easy, and it's crazy to me that somebody in marketing right now is sitting down, sipping their latte that they just walked to Starbucks to get in Seattle, right?
Mhm.
And they're making a whole bunch of zeros. And quite frankly, I don't know if they deserve that kind of money because
No.
these are easy layups, and it's just a missed one.
Well, time and time again, look at Microsoft's playbook when it comes to the marketing, the promotion, the advertising for years now. Someone's getting paid and they need to readdress what that person's getting paid for.
Yep.
Maybe they need to change their job description in the employee handbook. Maybe something needs to happen because I'll tell you right now, what's happening is jack shit.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate because like they could have done something with this. Now, to be fair, maybe there's a possibility, and I was thinking about this morning when I saw the topics. Maybe there's the possibility that we'll see one of their their live backgrounds on the Xbox dashboard. Like maybe they'll drop one of those in there over the next day or two. So maybe we at least have something. But it's a missed opportunity. And I feel like every time that Microsoft has a bad note like this, where like they had an easy layup, guess what? Sony's in the news showing off that they have a 30th anniversary PlayStation themed PS5. Now, I don't want one of those hefty beasts of a router under my entertainment center. I don't need it, but it's a cool idea and it's there for people who are interested in celebrating again the brand, a console they enjoy, stuff like that. Like Microsoft maybe release some stuff that people are interested in buying, and you'll surprisingly see fanfare, and you'll see a lot of people excited about it. Shocker. I don't know.
I mean, you're not wrong, Silent Cipher. And you know something? Like, I spend a lot of time writing these shows. Like, outside of me being on camera, and doing the advertising and being on other people's shows and things of that nature, there's a lot that goes into these things. So I do a lot of writing, which is great. And sometimes ideas just punch in the face, like live on the air. And I had one literally as you were speaking. So celebration of your IPs is something that Nintendo and even Sony do to great degree. They do. Now, granted, Sony, if you look at what they're doing for their 30th anniversary, I think it should be celebrated. It's 30 years. Now, if you don't like the brand, I get it. I hear you. I heavily dislike Sony Interactive Entertainment as a company. I think they are a shitty ass company, and they could care less about their consumers. And that is why I have this horrible distaste for them. But I'm a PlayStation fan. Now, PlayStation, for me, sits at number 3. It's Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation. That's how it's been for years. And that's okay, because I do still buy PlayStation things. Look at what they're doing for their 30th anniversary, Fuzzy. You got the Portal. You got the their version of the Pro controller. You have the regular controller. You have the PS5. You got the PS5 Pro. Those things are going to be sold out instantly and up on eBay. People are going to be making a fortune off of those things. One of the coolest things that people looked over that I saw and I was like, wow, that is really freaking cool, is the USB-C cable that looks like the old school cable that you plugged into the PlayStation 1. I think that is freaking pretty dope. I mean, am I going to buy it? You know what? I might.
It's an unnecessary detail, but
Right.
it adds a level of coolness. And I see a lot of people in the chat. They're like, "Oh, that bundle's $1 bajillion and stuff like."
It's over $1,000.
Totally,
ridiculous. Yeah,
I totally get it, and I agree with you fully. Like for me, it's not a purchase. I think it's a cool idea,
right?
But I'm not going to buy it because I'm not interested in giving them money for that thing. But the idea to celebrate that brand, to celebrate a game in your portfolio, stuff like that, that's what it should be about. And you look at folks like you mentioned, Nintendo and Sony fans, they're fervent about these things. They love it. Like in my little DM chat with some of the guys from XBI, they were talking about the Nintendo Switch bundles that are coming out here in the next little bit. They're not even branded for those games, but they're bundled with the game. And so they're excited about it because it's a new bundle.
Yeah.
Microsoft is not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a missed opportunity because they have the ability to do it. We've seen they can do this. It's like they've just forgotten where they came from.
I don't even know. I don't have an excuse. I don't even have an answer. I can say with full authority that there is somebody right now that they have in charge that is running the ship. And obviously there are a couple of takeaways. One, they don't care about the brand. Because if you look at someone like a Chris Charla, who I got a chance to meet in person over the summer, that guy is just packed with energy. Like, he is so excited about being an Xbox guy, you can just see it. Which, by the way, I happened to get one of the skateboards. Just right place, right freaking time. He walked up when we got online, and he's like, "Who wants a skateboard?" I'm like, "Me." I was wearing this banjo shirt, as a matter of fact. He comes running over, and he goes, "Nice. I love the shirt. Here's the board." I'm like, "Holy shit, I got the board." And I have it. It's awesome.
That's awesome.
Right? So he's super stoked about the brand. Whoever's in charge of the marketing is just not an Xbox person. They're just not a brand person. They might be, and I'm not being disrespectful, just a corporate suit that has a position. And I'm sorry to say, sorry, Xbox, there are plenty of people like me, and I'm not saying hire me, but go check the LinkedIn. It's updated. If you send me the email, I'll fly out to Seattle on my dime to get the job. It's not a problem. But you need to put somebody in the place that actually looks at Xbox as a brand, and they want to be there because they want to celebrate that brand. So, Fuzzy, yes, this is a missed mark. So one of those $1 million ideas that I'm going to have right now that I know, and folks, I've been told this by some pretty high-profile people. Xbox listens to the shows, and I am unbelievably humbled by that because this is a tiny channel, and they listen to the show probably because I'm super positive. Now, maybe this story isn't, but this is well-deserved smoke. So Xbox Design Labs is brilliant. It is a brilliant arm of Xbox. And if there's one thing that we can say with full authority, is that Xbox gamers freaking love controllers. And I'm one of them. And I buy, now I'm not going to say I buy all of them. I don't have like, you know, the military blue one or the green one or the orange one. I don't care about the camo stuff. I bought the clear blue one. That one is dope. And I hope they make a crystal green one like the OG Xbox. I'm buying it, hands down. But what one of the things outside of the 20th anniversary being a complete miss, why you don't have a designable controller? How much money would it have cost you to design a 20th anniversary controller face and put it up on the store? Because what you're not doing, and again, I'm not a business person, I don't have a degree. You're not boxing them, right? You don't need artwork for the box. You don't need money to ship to stores. You don't have to, you know, for customs. It's order by number. So if somebody like me wants it, we go to the design labs. The faceplate is the template, and you build that controller around that template. You do it. We do it. So it's not costing them anything outside of the initial design because it's not sitting on shelves. It doesn't have to be shipped. It comes in a vanilla box that says Xbox Design Labs. It doesn't even have a freaking design on it outside of just being in silver. So there's no cost to the box having to be made. So where this $1 million idea popped into my head when we were talking about this, ladies and gentlemen, is could someone in the room please tell me why we don't have a section of first-party characters that could be used and designed at will? Meaning they should have a Banjo controller. They should have a Conker controller. They should have different Halo and Gears controllers. And look, it's just designing. You're paying someone to design these controllers and put them up on the store. I draw stick figures, folks, and I guarantee you I can come up with 10 designs today that would sell out the minute they went up there because Xbox gamers buy controllers. So this is what I'm talking about, folks. And again, sorry to be negative, but I mean, this is well-deserved smoke. And obviously this starts with missing out on the 20th anniversary of a incredible franchise that is going to come back in the biggest and best way next year. Fuzzy, let's talk about it, man.
Well, I'll piggyback off of the controller idea. Much like they have the licensed NFL teams and a few other licensed things in the store that you can add to pretty much any controller that, you know, like if you're a fan of the Eagles or a fan of whatever team, you can have that controller made in Design Lab. So I like the idea of taking at least their current IPs, even if they want to have a throwback as far as some of their older IPs that have the cobwebs on them and some of the dust as far as that aren't in the process of being worked on in any timeline as we know of it, that's fine. But you do have Fable already, I guess, scheduled for 2025, or at least that's what the target is right now. So even if it's not a picture of the character, a picture of the titling would make sense. Now, one good point someone made in the chat is maybe they didn't want to celebrate it because of the closing of Lionhead, which I can kind of understand, but with you having a updated version coming out, at least put the focus on, hey, 20 years of Fable, moving on to the next chapter, look for it in 2025, but here's a sale on the Fable copies that are in the 360 store. If I think that's still active right now, but that would be something that they could do, or at least have the Fable logo for like the design labs. But the thing that I was talking about, like prior to coming on the show, is you see all of the consoles that they do for the contests and things like that, like the one-offs that they auction off or that they do as a sweepstakes type of thing, which is cool because a lot of times they contribute to charities, or it's brand awareness for a particular holiday or area that they want to draw attention to, and that's great. But why don't they turn some of those into wraps? Like, you still have the exclusivity of that one-off console that is made, but you can make kind of like a duplicate wrap. Like, I'm pretty sure the Starfield wrap did well enough. I'm one of many here. The day that they had it for pre-order, I pre-ordered it. And I haven't put it on my Xbox, but I love the quality of that. And I really wish that they would do a Forza one, even if it's just copying like a Shelby paint scheme or the Golf paint scheme that they used on like the GT40 or something. That would be cool. I can't believe that they haven't really leaned into those wraps, considering PlayStation has its shells, which is kind of a copy of what the 360 used to do back in the day. The wraps would be the easier way to go. It doesn't interfere with cooling. It's easy enough to switch them out, and it's a quality product that I'm pretty sure the profit margins are decent enough where you're using all of your own in-house stuff. You have Call of Duty in your fold now. You have Diablo in your fold now. Why not promote those with a wrap for the console? And I think that would be something to consider. And if not the console, like Boom said, do at least the design lab as far as like having those logoed controllers there. I know they have the ones where they can look kind of like that in the theme of with the coloring and the different components and such, but having one that has Diablo written on it, or having one that says Fable on it, would be the way. I think at least have it as an option. And I give kudos to them because they did listen to one of the ideas that I had been championing about for many years, is put the actual Elite controller in there to customize. And I think that was an awesome idea. I'm really looking forward to if they could do that day one for the Elite 3 or whatever that winds up being. And I'm hoping that's coming soon. But that's what they should look at, as far as I know they're still making decent profit or margin on these controllers, like the fire one or the ice blue one, and a variety of the different smoke ones that they've made and stuff like that. But every now and then the fan service should kind of crop up where, have that Fable controller for that 20th anniversary, or have that, Call of Duty Black Ops controller ready for the launch of the game, or something along those lines. Don't just leave it to third parties to make skins, because not everybody likes putting stickers on their controller or on their console.
I won't buy it. Yeah.
No.
So,
Fuzzy.
Yeah.
Fuzzy, the other thing with the wrap too, like when you mentioned that, I got to thinking early on. I was like, you know what? When they've got this mid-gen refresh where it's going to be a discless or something, maybe because it's a design change that, like they don't want to continue with them. But we know that's not the case either, because the Series X version is just discless. So all you had to do, if you wanted to make those wraps for that version, is just get an insert that you create that just goes right there where the disc is. So that way you have compatibility for people who have the disc version or without. Yeah. Like, you could have done the wraps. You could have made a big thing out of it. It's wild that they didn't.
Exactly. And I know this is someone else's idea. I think people have made mention. I know Boom, you've made mention, and I know other people have made mention of this as well. How about a clear green version of the Series X? Like, even if it winds up being $100 upcharge or something along those lines, even if you don't have to sell it as a complete console, sell the shell. I know they're a little hesitant to tell people go ahead and replace the outer shell or casing of their console, but considering they tell you how to do that to clean the console, I would assume that would be well within the range that would be something that would probably move for the Xbox fans. So it just feels like, and I don't want to slander any of the marketing team, because it just feels like the parent company doesn't want to give them the funds. So it's like, hey, here's $2. Go ahead and tell the world about our console and our games. And that's all you get, kind of thing. And it just feels like they're pigeonholed to that sometimes. But overall, it feels like there's not the green light for the things that some of the fans would ask for or buy up. Like, and I get it. Some people are like, well, they don't need to be like PlayStation, that cash grab with the 30th anniversary. And that is true. But considering how they do some of the other, like the sweepstakes consoles, or the one-off controllers, or the package things that they send to some influencers and stuff, those are things that they can recoup some of the revenue on by selling them in mass. Like, people were crying for that Deadpool and Wolverine controllers and things, and that's something that, even if they just sold the add-on to clip onto your regular red controller, I think would have probably taken off. But I don't know. It just feels like either there isn't the budget because the parents said no, or there isn't the enthusiasm because they know it's going to get shot down, or they don't feel like busting into the meeting, almost like what you hear about the original Xbox story, where they had to bust into board meetings to say, hey, listen to us, we want to make something that's not with Windows, that plays games and people will buy it. It's almost like that feeling is going on, and it's hard to see if the enthusiasts are leaving or they just been stifled. And it kind of feels like maybe a bit of both.
I mean, both of you had amazing points. Again, I just think that it's so blatantly apparent that they're missing out on the mark. If you're trying to run a business, and cost is, of course, at the forefront of how you're going to run the business. There's no doubt about it. Cost is key. Having the ability to celebrate your brand, right? To celebrate your brand, where it's come from. Now, I'm not saying that they should go out and they should do IP that people don't know about, that don't care about, that don't remember. But IP like Fable, well, it matters. IP like Banjo and Conquer, you don't have to put out 20 different designs to start. What you do, and what I would have done, is I would have taken 3 designs, started out with 3, put them out there from separate genres. You do a 20th anniversary of Fable. Right now, I get it. Yeah, they closed Lionhead, and that's bad news. They closed Lionhead a very long time ago, and I'm not saying that it's right, but it's long enough that, I mean, so what does that mean? We closed the studio so we could never celebrate the Fable franchise because we closed the studio? That's ridiculous. They have a new game coming out next year. What are they going to do? Put it out and just cover it with a blanket and say, "Hey, people, don't worry about this. We closed the studio." Studios get closed all the time, and it's not right. But to be held to a, hey, we close the studio, we can never talk about this game mentality, if that's what they're thinking, that is just ridiculous. So again, the whole crux of today's opening salvo, if you will, was supposed to be a celebratory conversation about Fable. Now, I'm excited for it. These guys are excited for it. I'm sure that the nearly 500 people we have watching live are excited for it. It is, and make no mistake, it will be one of the most talked about games next year, and it is one of the biggest first-party IP launches that they have coming. That I would say that it is as big, potentially even bigger than something like Starfield. It is again, it has a legacy, but we have not seen a Fable in a very, very long time, since the Xbox 360, and we finally got a game that looks to be the hashtag just one, a la Cognito of the Iron Lords podcast have been asking for. This is one of those games that you're going to look at the brand and be like, yes, this is what we've been waiting for. And that brand had a 20th anniversary that didn't even get discussed. And I'm going to be honest with you. Like I said, I'm spending Microsoft's money, and what the hell do I know? I'm just a knucklehead podcaster. But I think that there was an opportunity to celebrate this brand. I think it should have been. And at the very least, folks, at its least, should have been some sort of a direct of sorts. It didn't have to be a full rigmarole, every bell and whistle, $1 million event. It simply could have been, hey, here's a 10-minute deep dive into what you can expect in Fable, and give us some new gameplay. Show a dev, hey dev, so and so, why are you working for Playground? Oh, I've been a Fable fan since whatever. I remember bringing home Fable 1, not believing what I'm playing, and I'm working on it right now. It's my dream come true. We like that kind of shit. I know I do, right? So, look, it is a missed opportunity. Unfortunately, it does seem to be a running theme, and they need to get ahead of this stuff, folks. Again, maybe I'm making a big deal out of it. Maybe people are going to throw the virtual tomatoes. Hell, maybe people are going to even unsub because I have some negativity for Xbox. But this was a conversation I honestly wanted to have. I don't think you're going to hear this anywhere else, to be honest with you, because I'm a fan, and I'm a diehard Xbox fan. And I think that when they miss these kind of things, these are layups, folks. These are slam dunk deals. And like I said, when we buy controllers, I got about easily 30 controllers. I got 6 Elite by themselves, right? I got a black, I got a white, I got the gears. The last one I got, I have them all. Whenever there's a themed controller, hell, this is going to show you how ridiculous I am. Redfall, a game that most people hated. I put nearly 80 hours into that game, and I'm not sorry I did. Do you know what I did? I bought all 5 controllers, all of them. And I love every freaking single one of them. And you know what? They're worth a lot of money. Try to buy one on eBay right now. They're $150 right now. I bought every one of them, and I'm not sorry that I did. I like controllers. Yes, I only have 2 hands, but I like controllers. And again, opportunity missed in my opinion. But gentlemen, we got to get into the second half of the show. And this is the one that's a bit of again, I just think it's 2 companies going in 2 directions. And I think that the gaming media continues to shield PlayStation in the most egregious and embarrassing way possible. I literally said this to Silent Cypher before we went live. Could you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, if Xbox in this generation only released remakes and remasters of games from the Xbox One days? Do you know what kind of a bloodbath that would be? The Xbox has no games, has no creativity. They give you upgrades for free. Sony, on the other hand, well, I have some smoke for them as well. But before we get to that smoke, I want to just catch up on Super Chats. And we have here a channel member chat from Sith Lord, generous friend of the program, who's been a channel member for nearly 30 long months. Sith Lord, thank you so much for the support. He says, here a PlayStation, we have no original ideas. We just have recycled some the same old stuff, not giving you the stuff you want, just the stuff you don't want. Pay up. I mean, I can come up with 5 titles right now that deserve rebirths, if you will, and Sony could have gotten weird with them, and it wouldn't have cost them $315 million to make like Spider-Man 2. And one of those games is SOCOM. The other game is Twisted Metal. You could have, created a new studio, or like, for instance, let Ben Studios make a new, what was a spy game? Siphon Filter. Phenomenal franchise, nowhere to be found. So yeah, I could work for Sony just as much and give them $1 million ideas about how you can circle the wagons and not spend $315 million on games, and you can bring back what PlayStation gamers, fans, not fanboys, actual fans of the platform who grew up with it, remember. Warhawk is another one.
you don't have to spend a whole lot of money to get a new walk out there. You just don't. I'm just saying. But
Bloodborne.
I mean I mean I'm not even a Souls guy, and I'd sign off on that. Put Bloodborne on a PC, and you're gonna have 10 million copies sold. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But they won't do it. It's the weirdest one of the bunch. It's so weird, right? So thank you so much, Sith Lord, for the support. Robert Young has gifted not one, ladies and gentlemen, but 2 Double Barrel Gaming memberships. Robert, thank you so much for being here, brother, and thank you so much for the generosity. We truly appreciate it. And if you did get one of the 2 that he has donated, please thank this man. Chaos Theory. Wow, this is another one. He's been a channel member, holy matrimony, for 58 long months. Chaos Theory, brother, that is incredible support, dedication, and I'm so honored that you feel that we're worth it. Thank you so much for the support. He says, holy cow, 58 months. Man, time flies. Keep up the good work, the good content. That's very kind of you, Chaos Theory. Super appreciate that. We have another one here from Shine Films, who's been a channel member for 12 months. So Shine Films, thank you so much for the support. He says, some of the original team is also working on the new game. The legacy of Fable should be celebrated regardless. It deserves the recognition. Thank you, sir. Yes, people from Lionhead are, in fact, were brought in to help keep the ambiance, if you will, of what Fable is. And it does seem that has been like a major aspect of building this game, just based on what we've seen so far. Tim the Sorcerer has been a channel member for 26 months. That is very kind of you, sir. Thank you so much, Tim. We appreciate it. He says, great show as always, panel and chat. Have a great gaming weekend, everyone. Even if it's a remake, remaster, or worse, Bloodborne would be cool. Yeah, Bloodborne would be a million seller in a second. I don't get it. To me, it's a weird one. So where I want to take the podcast next is this. Now, I saw a post from VGT Gaming News, and it's at VGT Gaming News on Twitter. They are a pretty big followed site. They have almost 68,000 followers. They're following only 38, which is probably just the people that work there and maybe a handful of others. I like their stuff. If they have, according to their bio, it's video games, news, reviews, interviews, live streams, and they do reporting 24/7. It's created by friends that they made over the years, which I think is super cool. So they put out a tweet the other day. That's when we talk about the remake Station 5, I know that's console war ass. That's rhetoric, and I apologize for it. But listen, that's what it's become. As you see by the title of the show, PlayStation is obviously bankrupt when it comes to creativity. They used to be the tip of the spear. They are no longer that, folks. They are a nickel and dime company that are literally fighting for their lives. Because, again, if you look at some of the financial hardships that they have suffered over the 18, 24 months, they've had massive change in leadership. They had the PlayStation VR 2.0 basically come and go like the wind. The Portal, great device, but if you listen to what Kay Asante had to say on Primetime Gaming, completely handicapped. And he's a tech guy. He said what they can do with this console is amazing things, and they choose not to, which is why no one's talking about it, right? Just some of the things that they have done have not been really great for PlayStation, and the lack of direction has been one of the big key factors. No roadmap is something that we consistently talk about on many of our shows, and there still isn't one outside of, well, a roadmap for remakes and remasters. Now, where the rubber hits the road, Silent Cypher, is, again, this particular tweet. And I'm going to read verbatim, folks. I'm going to read it absolutely verbatim. It says for Sony, it seems like the PlayStation 5 is a generation of remasters and remakes. So here is a list of the rumored remakes that are coming. Horizon Zero Dawn, well, that's no longer a rumor because that's been rated. Now, the other one that's not on here is Days Gone. And Days Gone is apparently rumored to show up at next week's State of Play as a remaster. They also have on the list God of War 2018, apparently is getting a remaster. Like, that one is as bad as Horizon Zero Dawn. My question is, why? Uncharted Drake's Fortune remake. Does that actually need one? I don't necessarily think so, but he has on the list here, they have not rumored Bloodborne. I mean, I think that's just there as a joke, but this is what has been released so far for the PlayStation 5 as remakes. The Last of Us Parts 1 and 2 remastered. Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection remaster. Death Stranding's Director's Cut. Demon Souls. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. Until Dawn, which is releasing in October. And Spider-Man Remastered. Are we freaking kidding me? Like, it is almost a running joke. Some of these games are not even that old. Like, I know there's going to be a lot of pushback for people. Like, for instance, Dead Rising just had their remaster remake release. That game came out in 2006 on the Xbox 360. So if you go out and buy it, and I'm not going to front, I did because I'm a fan of that. I haven't played that in years. And you know something? If you look at it from 2006 to the RE Engine version, there are big upgrades. And again, for me, I spent the money because I'm a Dead Rising and Capcom fan, right? But some of these, they're just not they're not upgraded enough where you go from 2006 Dead Rising, which looks terrible today, and you get the new RE Engine version. You're like, yeah, that's a massive upgrade. I can get into that. Some of these do not warrant that. Silent Cypher, look, if there is one thing that people have been asking for, even people like myself, like I'm a MotorStorm fan through and through. And I know this is going to be taboo. But if they remastered MotorStorm, a game that was a launch title for the PlayStation 3, I'm in day one, even if it's at $70. I know that's crazy, but one of my favorite racers of all time. Like, honestly, it's up there with, Horizon 5 and, of course, a few others. You put, there's a ton of them you can put out there. Burnout 3 is like one of my favorites. That is in the crown jewels. MotorStorm is for me. So I would buy that. I would buy a Resistance Fall of Man redone because it was a PS3 launch game. These titles do not seem to warrant it other than for the purpose of greed. And the other thing, and as you can see by the title here, and I believe this in my heart, PlayStation is creatively broke. Like, they just don't have a direction. They do not understand what PlayStation is anymore. And you can tell that by what happened with Concord, what's eventually going to potentially happen to Marathon and even Fair Games. Those are the next two. And folks, I'm here to tell you, I think those are going to flop just as bad as Concord. So where's the next original PlayStation title? Can anyone in the room raise your hand and point that out? Because all we've heard is rumored. There's rumors, Silent Cypher. And you know what else there's not? A roadmap. We have literally no idea what they're doing. And I don't know if we're going to know at least until somewhere, maybe June next year. Let's get your hot take on the fact that remasters have become the running narrative. And more importantly, do you believe that Sony is creatively bankrupt?
Well, So let's dive into their recent history of decisions that they made. Now, they thought it was a good idea to go the games as a service route. And they told us, folks, we're bringing 12 plus games as a service. This is happening, and it's going to be great. And I think we had the conversation here. I know we had it on XBI, but I made a comment. I said 25% at max will survive. You will see 9 of these games go away. And over the last couple months, what have we seen? And here's the baffling part for me. They didn't stick with the good ones. They didn't go with something like a Twisted Metal like they had planned.
Yep.
They didn't go with something like you mentioned with a SOCOM or with a Resistance or with a Killzone or with something that they actually have traction with. No, instead they brought out Concord. How's Concord doing for you guys out there? How's that going? No, really. I mean, they've got IPs that they could. This is the same thing we just talked about with Microsoft, right? Celebrate your brands. You have brands that have a following. So what the hell are you doing? Instead, you bring out Concord instead of like a Twisted Metal, instead of a SOCOM, instead of a Siphon Filter, things like that. You bring out these. You crap the bed, and everyone's like, what happened? And this goes back to what you're talking about with a roadmap. What roadmap? There's no roadmap. Guess what? Astrobot came out. It's doing well. It's cool. That's great. That doesn't make up for the fact that you've canned about 9 games already that you had in line, that you just turded one out and canceled it after like a week worth of feedback and gameplay. I don't know what they're doing. Like, you look at this and it's again, I feel like they've forgotten where they came from also. Like I miss as a fan of PlayStation from back in the day, I miss the PlayStation of when I was growing up. The
Because they were
PlayStation we have
weird.
now.
They were
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, the PlayStation now is not the PlayStation we grew up with.
Nope.
We don't have our ape escapes. We don't have all these other unique things. And they're spiraling. And like you said, creatively bankrupt when it comes to a lot of this stuff. Like, I love me a remake, a remaster. I love me stuff like that. If there's been enough time from the original release that it makes sense. It's like you said with Dead Rising. Like, I spent a couple hours in that game last night. And if you put the original Dead Rising from 06 to now side by side, and they've
Leaps
got
and
video
bounds.
comparisons. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have video comparisons in YouTube. You can see the two right next to each other. There is a drastic difference, and the pricing that they're asking for that game is reasonable for what it is. It's not a $70 game like what Sony's been doing either. And they had a homework assignment. They did the homework. They passed the test.
Yep.
Like, it came out. It's really good. This is how you do a remaster or remake. You give it long enough so people get to remembering, like, man, I'm so nostalgic over that brand. I miss that game. I haven't played it for so long. And when you go back to it, you're like, holy crap, this holds up. And it brings back all that memory. You're not going to get that same experience with The Last of Us when you just released it 3 or 4 years ago. I'm sorry. And to ask someone 50 or 60 or $70 for it 4 years later, you can kiss my grits. That Sony is back to a point. Sony is back to a point that they were in PS3 back in the day. It's arrogance.
Yes,
It's a
sir.
level of arrogance. You're releasing a PS5 Pro at $700 without a disc drive. And they didn't come out and say it, but this arrogance that they have right now is the exact same level of PS3. Oh, you can't afford it? Go get another job. Go get a second job so you can afford this system. And I hope the resounding answer back to Sony with all these decisions they've made is kiss my ass. As a consumer, you have to do what's best for you. If you have you have the extra budget to stretch and go and do all these things and buy all the things, then cool, good on you. But I hope that you vote with your wallet and you make good decisions with your money, even though it's your money. I look at something like this and $700 for that. No. Why? Also, that disk drive, just a side note, I watched back over that video for this classic 30th anniversary edition. That disk drive makes it look like that console has a big old booty. My good lord. That is the
You saying baby's got back? Is that what you're saying?
Baby's got some junk in the trunk that maybe baby needs to get rid of, because
oh my goodness,
it does not look good. That system does not look good with that drive attached to it. Like, that drive reminds me kind of like the HD DVD drive from the Xbox 360.
Remember that came in
where
we
all tucked it away in shame in a separate little cabinet where no one could see it, so that way it wasn't part of our entertainment center. And I'd be very curious to see people's pictures of this thing when it's sitting on someone's entertainment center, because good God, that is an ugly looking attachment. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
But yeah, no, I agree with you fully with the notes on Sony. I wish they'd get back to what I remembered and what I enjoyed of Sony, of PlayStation. I wish they'd get back to those days, and I don't feel like it's in their DNA at this point right now to get there. I feel like there's got to be a decent amount of people that leave before we see a drastic, significant change for the better. Because the folks that are there right now, like, I thought Jim Ryan was bad, but then like Totoki comes in and this is par for the course still, and I'm just like, we're gonna have to outlive their bad decisions before we hopefully see them eventually realize, like, this isn't what our fans, not the diehards, but the fans actually want. Like, this is nonsense, and I don't understand why people continue to rally for it. I've seen so many people that probably have back injuries on Twitter at this point for how hard they're carrying Sony over and over again. No, it's the best decision in the world. $700, sign me up for $800. Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah,
nonsense?
but these are the same people that said they will pay $100 for the next God of War because it's quality. Right?
Yeah, well,
I mean, the people said it. I mean, I'm not making that up. People actually said it.
Give me $20. I'll come over and kick you in the junk, and we can just call it even. Like, I don't know why we're doing this. It's insane.
It's disappointing, to be honest with you, is what it is. You know, oh no, it's Alex. Whether you love him or you hate him, I love his work. He's slanderous. He's pointed. He's funny as hell. There's nothing more shocking as a viewer to watch a grown man of his size get on the chair, spin it around, and slap his ass. Like, I'm not saying I like that. I'm always shocked by it, right?
The thing of joy.
But he's funny. And he happened to do a video that I watched. And interestingly enough, like I said, this title wasn't because of I watching his video. Anybody that's in the Breakfast of Boom DM, no, I had talked about this on Wednesday. Said, guys, this is what I'm working on. Get ready. This is what the show is going to be like. And he actually had mentioned that he believes Sony is creatively bankrupt. And in his video, he said, you know, when you compare to what they have brought forth with their remakes, he asked a great question, Fuzzy. Where is the Jack and Daxter trilogy remake? Where is the Sly Cooper remake, right? The trilogy remaster, if you will. He actually mentioned, which I was completely shocked that he even knew what it was Motorstorm. He actually had mentioned Jet Moto, which I had completely forgotten about. He mentioned Warhawk as well. I think if I'm not mistaken, he said Twisted Metal. I've been calling for a Twisted Metal Black remake. Don't reinvent the wheel. Just remake that one. That is the best in the series, has one of the best soundtracks in gaming, led by the Stones. The Rolling Stones has a lead title in that. And I mean, okay, so maybe it's a licensing thing with the music. Take the freaking music out. Just give me the game remastered, right? These are wells that they should be going to, because it celebrates what makes PlayStation what it is. And I understand that, these are big corporations and they want to make money, but this has, again, it's a running joke with the community. A lot of the, very boisterous Xbox, guys and gals who like to go out of their way to give it to Sony have called it the remake Station 5. They're not wrong. They're calling the PlayStation 5 Pro the Potato, which, it's just funny, to be honest with you. But this is one of those instances where maybe you don't see it as just watching the podcast, but when you, like, for instance, I was really taken aback by how many remasters and remakes there've been on PS4 games to PS5. And one of the conversations, and we don't have to have it here, that I keep ringing the bell because I want to remind people, is when you try to play these PS4 games on your PS5, you could. But if you wanted the use of your DualSense and the bump in graphics or FPSs, you needed to pay $10, which is pretty shitty, to be honest with you, considering Microsoft has something called Smart Delivery, and you get it for the big price of free, right? If you think, and I said this in the opening, folks, and I'm going to keep ringing this bell, when the Pro comes out in November, if you think you're going to pop your disc in and it's just going to work for the Pro because there's a Pro version of it and they're just going to give it to you, there is a reason why Mark Cerny didn't mention that. You know why he didn't mention it? Because if he did, it'd have been really good news and another nugget for you to upgrade. Oh, man. I got these games. You're going to get it. I'm going to buy the console and I'm just going to get all these upgrades. They didn't say anything because they're going to charge you for it, because that is what Sony does. But let's talk about the remake Station 5. I look, the tagline of being creatively bankrupt is not just that of a tagline, Fuzzy. I think there is some legitimate truth to that. And I think based on the fact that there is no forward-thinking roadmap, and these games that were only out a couple of years ago finding their way back onto the PS5, it's pretty sad, to be honest with you.
Well, their roadmap is kind of circular. It's basically an oval. It just goes back into their back catalog of stuff that they know will sell. So I guess Totoki is a little more risk adverse than we even thought he would be. Like, they have some clear winners in like things like Bloodborne, considering how Elden Ring did, how Liza P did, and a few others as far as Souls-like games. And that would be an easy one to at least do the 60 frames update, maybe a bit of a resolution bump, a little bit more, clarity and HDR and things along those lines. I think those would be, the low-hanging fruit. Something like SOCOM, considering that they don't have the marketing anymore for Call of Duty, you would think that they would look for some sort of alternative. And at the time, a third-person shooter wasn't really that big of a thing, and it's not that big of a thing now. But with Sony behind it, I think they could make it something again. Considering how they have their player base and considering how many consoles are out there, as long as they make it for, I guess, the PS4 and the PS5, they would have an easy win for themselves. But looking at the whole remake and remastering, I mean, half their base is still on the PS4. So making these remasters, I don't know if it's to convince the PS4 guys to upgrade. Like, to me, the thing to convince them to upgrade would be new games. something like either a new title in the series that's only on PS5 or something to that effect, or something completely new, which we hear these rumors of bar logs like sci-fi game. I would like to see something from it as far as, is it actually in the works, or is it just, rumors because, well, PlayStation doesn't have Starfield, so we have to make up something kind of thing. Like, they need to get on ball to at least show some form of a roadmap other than, hey, remember all those PS4 games that you bought and enjoyed? Hey, you're going to buy them again because we're going to make them look that much better. And the funny thing is, with Horizon Zero Dawn and with even things like Days Gone and stuff like that, why are they even bothering, considering they made a PC version? Like, at that point, it would seem like, okay, if you made a PC version, that's probably as good as it's going to get, depending on your hardware based on the PC. The PS5 Pro is not going to be above the top tier of PCs out there. So if anything, just do it as an up-res upgrade. I mean, even if they're only charging 10, but maybe $10 is not enough of a fee, or $15 isn't enough of a fee. Remaster should never really cost the full price of a game, especially if you already previously own the game. Like, if anything, if they want to have like that olive branch to their fan base and not show that they're trying to, run their pockets kind of thing. Hey, it's $30 to $40 for these remakes, but if you already own the previous version, it's a $10 upgrade or $5, whatever the case may be. That, even with them being slimy and charging you for those upgrades, they would still have at least the fan base on their side saying, oh, Sony loves us and whatnot, considering that they're not trying to hit them over the head for a full $70 on a game from not even 10 years ago. Like, it boggles my mind how people are fine with remasters that aren't even 10 years old. Like, a game from 2006, that should be fair game for remastering. A game from 2018 should not even be a consideration until it's 2028. Maybe do the remaster then. Don't do it now. That doesn't make any sense to me, especially if it's on PC already. Like, what are we doing here? But nobody's going to hold their feet to the fire. PlayStation fans saw that $700 price and they're like, man, I got to figure out how to get that second job to pre-order this thing, or whatever the case may be. Oh, the 30th anniversary is over $1,000. Oh yeah. Well, I'll just sell a kidney or something type of deal. But it is what it is. PlayStation has always thought of themselves as this premium brand. They're like the international Apple equivalent, I guess. And you're going to pay the price, whether you want to or not. You're eventually going to pay the price, because you're not going to get anything new until maybe next year you get to see something new in the showcase. I'm really curious to see if we see anything that's an actual quote unquote new game at this upcoming State of Play. Typically they save those for the showcase. I'm strictly talking about first party, because we all know, they've had some games third party wise, but this is unusual this far into the generation to have this many third party only titles, considering they have a decent amount of studios. They've already released most of their games at the tail end of PS4, with the exception of Insomniac. So, and okay, you had Sony Santa Monica release the second God of War, which already was started, or was, kind of titled or positioned to be a launch title along with Zero or Forbidden West. But all their other studios should have something in the go. And considering how big some of these studios are, like your Naughty Dogs, like Sony Santa Monica, they should be able to squeeze out a second team to work on a second project, or have had them working on that second project for about 4 or 5 years now. But nobody wants to talk about that. All the social media, or not social media, but the gaming news journalists were all on Xbox's back in 2017. Like, why'd you buy these studios? Where are the games? Knowing that the games have, like, they need 5 years to be made. So when you're talking about that in 2017 through 2022, what do you expect? But now they have the games. They have the roadmap that we could see for the next 5 to 10 years. And we have it almost to the point where it's going to be one per quarter, if not in some cases 2 per quarter, because you have either additional content coming as far as DLC, expansions, and whatnot. So it's just funny to me that the gaming media is the one that's the quietest about PlayStation kind of failing at having any roadmap, but yet they were all on Xbox's back all these years when they bought the studio. So I don't know. It's funny to me.
Fuzzy. I saw this last night after I grabbed Dead Rising, and so it's just in mind. But I just wanted to say, in regards to like the pricing, bringing out the remaster again already so soon, something like the Horizon, right? Uh, Shadows of the Damned, I think is what it was. It was a 360 title.
Yes.
Yeah, that's got
Yep.
a remaster coming.
Yep.
It's $24.99.
Yeah, it's $25.
So justify the fact that a Horizon that just came out just a couple of years ago, you're going to try and charge me $70 for.
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
It doesn't. You can't. It really doesn't make sense, especially considering the PC upgrade is already out there. So you want the best place to play for that game, it's going to be there. And I guess they're learning from Rockstar what they did with Grand Theft Auto 5. It almost seems like PlayStation wants to follow that model. We're going to give you the same game for 10 years, but for each generation of console, we're going to give you a new version of it that you're going to buy at full price. It's like, I mean, even Rockstar learned with the last one that you can't charge full price, but it is what it is. I don't know.
I mean, listen, look, I know there are a lot of people, including my brother, who is, quote unquote, like the kids like to say, over it with the remasters. I mean, look, I bought 2 remasters this week. I got the Dead Rising one, which again, for me, justified the purchase because I'm a fan. And the other one that I bought that was out during the 360 era was Lollipop Chainsaw. Now, again, I'm an old school House of the Dead fan. This game is basically a third person version of that because the story is so ridiculous, and some of the writing is just, it's very House of it is beyond campy. It is so campy. You know how when people talk about that's a B film, this is like a Z film, like that. It's that awful. But I played the game on the 360 and I very much enjoyed it. Again, it was campy. It has you'd have to appreciate like House of the Dead humor. That's basically what it is in third person, right? I mean, it's a cheerleader running around with a chainsaw chopping up zombies. And she's been doing it since she was 6. It's ridiculous. But you know what? It's actually fun. So am I a part of the problem? I would say that maybe I am, but that
game hasn't been out for years.
Yeah, well, 360 was the last time. Yeah.
So there was a gap. Like, it makes sense, but to do it like 3 or 4 years later, like that's not.
Well, at that point, I think it's just a cash grab. To be honest with you, it clearly is a cash grab for Sony. And look, they're a corporation. They're here to make money. But there is something to be said, and this has a lot of levels, right? At the forefront, in my opinion, is the gaming media continuously giving passes to Sony for this kind of nonsense. Like, there isn't even a pushback. The only pushback that I saw logistically, and it's one of the, in my opinion, one of the better PlayStation podcast, that's the Trophy Room. Mr. Badbit, who was a part of this show for many, many years, he actually was like, I don't think anyone really asked for the Horizon Zero Dawn remake. What are we doing? And that guy bleeds blue. Like, he has a show dedicated to PlayStation. And he was like, I don't get this. Another one that's been pushing back on Sony big time is BitCloud, who was also a part of this, and he's been giving them the business, as he should. But the gaming media, again, all I'm saying, folks, if we're gonna just be fair about the conversation, if we're gonna just call it down the line and not pick sides here, if Xbox would have done a quarter of what Sony is doing, they'd have been thrown out of the bar. Right, they would have sent back, and there'd have been 17 articles from one site about how egregious this is. Now, is this because of the marketing deals and the dollars that Sony spends on places like IGN, which is rumored to have over 43% ad read that they get from Sony? Maybe, but obviously they don't say anything. It's like, it's fine. And again, like I said, if Bloodborne ever gets announced, that is going to be a celebratory day because that's a game that everyone has been asking for. No one asked for Horizon. No one's asking for God of War 2018. Maybe some people are asking for Days Gone because Days Gone is quite a great game. A little open for me. Like I said, I enjoyed my time, but I didn't play through it. Like I said, it had its issues. But again, maybe there are people asking for that. I know what people are asking for, though, and I know what I'm asking for, is a remake of Twisted Metal Black, of maybe bringing back. I mean, listen, would it really cost a lot of money to bring back a Twisted Metal Black? How much money do you think that would be? It actually wouldn't. And there are a couple of ways you can handle this. You can drop it into your service, make it, again, if you want to make it only the top tier, drop it in there and say, hey, Twisted Metal Black remake in here day one, you get people to sign up. Or you can sell it for your $70 and it would not be that much of an investment to bring that game back. It just would not. The same thing with, again, Factions 1. Factions 1 was, I played a pinch of it. Wasn't like die hard like I would for Halo, but it is a revered PlayStation classic. What would it have cost to just remake 1 and put it out there? Didn't have to be free to play. You could have charged for it. That's a game that people would have dropped $40 on, but they don't choose these. Jet Moto is another one. Classic as classic can get for PlayStation. How much would it have been to throw a current gen skin over the bones? It wouldn't have cost that much. And they would have made bank on something like that because OGs like myself would have been like, yup, I'm dropping dime on that because I remember playing that game on my PS1 for freaking hours. Again, I'm not saying it fixes the creative bankruptcy that they're currently dealing with the way they're making games, but at least it's not remastering a game that came out in 2018, 2019, 2020. Just saying, they could do better and they choose not to. So, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we had a little bit of it wasn't the most positive show, but I think that we all handled it well. I want to thank the near 600 people we had in here today. Just want to catch up on Super Chats. We'll get to outros. Send you on your way to enjoy your Friday. Hopefully, you're going to have a great weekend. I'm going to get back to Dead Rising. I remembered why I hated the original one. As much as I love it, I also hate it. The timer is, I hate that effing timer because I feel I'm always under pressure. Get back to the security room by 6, or and it's unnecessary pressure. I
just wish they'd let us roam around and just enjoy the game. I feel like the timer never did it any service.
No,
because there's so much fun there. Well, yeah, like there's so much fun there, and it goes away from being like scary or stressful to annoying eventually.
Annoying, yeah, like, most of annoying. Like, I just killed the clown, right? I just killed the clown. Nice. I right before them, I killed the escapees that were driving around in the Jeep. So now I got the Jeep, which is great. But I'm consistently going like this, look, because you push up on the button and the watch comes up, and I'm like, oh my god, someone's 6. I gotta get back.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm out on curfew or something. I think because if you look at it when it starts, it says the 72-hour mode. Right. I wish there would have been like, hey, we don't want the 72-hour mode, but maybe it's a mode that you just have to beat the game to get to.
I'm curious. I wonder if it unlocks something or if there's plans, because they very specifically detail 72-hour mode.
It's
not like they're they're not like this is the standard game. Like they specified mode, so I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that they have the feedback and they understand that we just want to play.
Yeah,
Because
and you know something? I'm not gonna lie, folks.
oh,
I'm not gonna lie. I bought all the outfits. I dropped $20, and now I'm running around as a nemesis, and it's freaking awesome. Like I'm not even gonna lie.
Jagger in the chat says it has a survival mode, so
Oh,
that's
all right.
I don't know if that gets you away from a time limit. I forget, but
I would just like easy go mode, you know, or search and destroy mode. Like just run around the whole mall, just chopping up, taking pictures, and that's listen. Anyway, I'm enjoying it. It's a remaster. I know that goes against what a lot of people are saying, but again, my justifications for it is that was 2006. We're now in 2024. That's 18 years. That's what I'm talking about. An 18-year gap, you got my money. No questions asked. A game came out in the 360 and you want to release it on the Xbox Series X, you'll get my money. A game that came out in 2018 and we're in 2024, you're not getting my money. I'm not going to do it. But Highlander 001 drops a very generous $5 super chat. And he goes on to say, newsflash, Microsoft is starting up 3 Mile Island to power Microsoft AI facility. This makes Microsoft a nuclear power top that Sony. I mean, they're spending money, man. AI is going to be big, and they are ahead of the curve in a massive way. I mean, they are in so many ways leaps and bounds ahead of Sony, but they're also still in third place. And obviously, we're starting to see the fruit of the labor of all the investment with the games. Indiana Jones is obviously coming out. Flight Simulator is in November. You have Call of Duty, which, of course, again, I still can't believe that's first party, but that is first party. Age of Mythology came out a couple of weeks ago. You have Aura, which is releasing, I think, on the next week. They have a lot. And again, not every genre is for everybody because I don't really like RTSs. It's not my bag, but they're there for you if you want to try them. And they're in the service that you don't have to actually buy them, which is huge. Lastly, we have Spectrum Blast Gaming. Welcome. Hey, dude, that's a name I don't really recall seeing, but it's great to see you here. And thank you so much for the very generous $2 super chat. This is great. He says Dark Cloud, Legend of Legala, and Legend of Dragoon. Yes, all amazing RPGs that could come back in a big way. Yeah, 100%. I just think that Sony could do some things that would really excite the fan base. And I think if you would see some of these classic IPs come back and they're remade with class and distinction, not just slap a coat of paint on them and throw them out there and they run like shit. No, I mean, like, take the development time, make the remake great. People will excuse your no roadmap because you are at least bringing back classic IP that have not been seen or played in years, that a lot of them are trapped on the PlayStation 3 because of the cell technology that cannot be played anywhere else. So it's, they could do it. They just choose not to. But let's get everyone out of here. And we'll start first with Silent Cypher. Brother, thank you so much for being a part of this show. Love that you come back every couple of weeks. Obviously, the schedule is every other week, so we won't see you next week, but we'll see you the week after. By all means, sell the brand because you're on a podcast called the Xbox International Podcast, which is a phenomenal show. Louis has been on a tear by doing some crazy things, and I'm wondering if he's possessed by that damn painting because, man, he's been here, there, and everywhere. Talk about it, brother. Where can people subscribe to that? Subscribe, listen live, and more importantly, follow you on social media.
Yes, well, thank you so much, as always, for having me. It's great to hang out with you guys this morning. Been out of things for a while because of everything going on, but I'm happy to be back. Happy to be hopefully on a normal cadence again. As far as where you can find me on Twitter being an Ask Goblin. You can find me on Xbox playing video games. You can find me on Wednesdays at Xbox International Podcast, playing at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Same thing as always. Boom has a show that plays the same time, but the way I see it is just as long as you get to the show and you enjoy the content at some point, that's all that matters. So if you're enjoying the content, that's why we're here. That's why we keep doing it. I think we just hit episode 130.
Oh,
So
wow,
we're
that's
getting up there,
fantastic.
which is cool.
Yeah.
And then I hope to be hanging out with Fuzzy and his awesome wife to talk some more horror movies here in a couple weeks. I think next week, actually.
Yep.
I think we got one lined up for that. And then Sunday I'll be hanging out with Web Dave on Gamers Council. I'll be hanging out with him, and so yeah, I'm back in full swing. I'm finally back to actually doing some podcasts. I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be seen. I'm happy to just be back and have some conversations with you gentlemen. And shout out to the chat. You guys kept it pretty awesome today. I know we're not all on the same page on all these topics, but it's fun to have the conversation, and it's interesting to see everyone's opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're normally very super positive, and I still think that we added positivity to the conversations. We didn't go overboard. We don't pile on the rabbit, so to speak. And again, this is for all my old G's out there that know what I'm talking about with Bugs Bunny and that particular cartoon. They know it's exactly what that means. We have conversations, and I think that everyone today knocked it out of the park. You can be critical, and I think as consumers we should be. You should, when Microsoft makes a mistake, and I think that they made one. I think the lack of celebratory, for Fable was wrong. I just think that was a tremendous miss. But Fuzzy, let's sell the brand of not only your YouTube channel, which of course is the best place for anything and everything in the racing genre. Your wife has a horror podcast Friday evenings, 6 p.m. Eastern. Obviously, I was a guest on it. I think it was episode 2, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe was it the first one? Maybe it was even the first one, but great show if you are a horror fan. We are rolling into Halloween after next week, folks. October is going to be here, or Shocktober as it's known. And of course, everyone is now starting to put up their stuff. We're going to put up our Halloween stuff up on the door because we love Halloween as well. Sell the brand of your wife's new podcast. And more importantly, where can people follow you on social media?
Well, as always, I want to thank you for having me on today. It was awesome being on here with you guys. So glad we have Silent Cypher back this morning as well. Always love hearing your guys' takes on things. And thanks to everybody in the chat. You guys are awesome. Always love interacting with you guys, and just some of the back and forth, even though it's respectful and just we're all fans of this brand or of Xbox or just gaming in general. And we're just looking for what we feel, as far as from our standpoint, what is best for that brand and what we would like to see, because we're all enthusiasts for this hobby. But for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on YouTube. Just do a search for Fuzzy Belvedere. And you can also find my wife if you're into horror movies. Just do a search for Fright Night with Ferocious Fee. Typically, we have a 1 to 2 hour episode every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fridays. But today we're going to just do a short episode because we're going to Mahoning Drive-In for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre showing tonight, and then Evil Dead trilogy for tomorrow. So a shorter episode, but definitely check us out. You can find her on Twitter, or the app formerly known as Twitter, at Ferocious Fee 78, and that's Fee Fi for Fiona. And you can also just do that same search on YouTube to be able to find her as well. And then I'm on a number of podcasts now because I'm going to the movies. Might not be on Xbox Ultimate tonight, but definitely check out Fun Speculations channel, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Xbox Ultimate. Shop Podcast tomorrow, 10 p.m. for the Shop Podcast on PTK Blam's channel. Pixelated Echoes on Sunday at 8 p.m. with me and 3-Bit. And then I hope everybody is right back here Monday for Xbox Lunch Break Special, 12 noon, right here on this channel. Hope to see you there.
Thank you so much. And again, folks, I don't know whether you follow Tom Warren or not. He is saying to be on the lookout for Xbox's presentation at Tokyo Game Show. I can tell you, as you can see by my tweet to follow up what Tom had to say, he is on to something because I got to talk to somebody, and I'm not at liberty to say, but I'm going to say that Xbox fans who have been wanting certain titles are going to be very excited come the Tokyo Game Show. So we'll be we'll be covering what happens. I don't know if we're going to cover it live. I don't think we definitely won't cover it live because I think it's at 6 something in the morning here on the East Coast. But later that afternoon, we will cover all of the ongoings, and we'll be back here. I believe it's going to be, we'll be talking about it on Thursday of next week. And then Friday morning, don't forget, next Friday, don't forget to be here, folks, because we're doing the 6th annual Boom's Birthday Bash. That's right. My birthday is next Wednesday. I'll be 54 years old. My God, I'm getting long in the tooth. But we're giving away 10 $50 gift cards next Friday morning, courtesy of Mr. and Mrs. Boomstick. And all you got to do to win is be in the chat. And of course, like I say always, the first half of any prizes that we do go to channel members because, well, that's the least we can do. It is the fair thing to do. Second half of the prizes will go to anybody that is hanging out in the chat. And if the picker picks your name and you win, you get a $50 gift card to the platform of your choice. Steam, Xbox, Nintendo eShop, and of course, PlayStation. And if you are outside of the country, we will still send you your $50 prize via PayPal only. And again, it's our way of protecting Mrs. Boom and ourselves. And of course, if there are any transfer fees or any denominational differences in regards to your country's money being worth more, we pick up that tab. You literally pay nothing. If you win, you win. So, and again, I say this all the time because it is a big deal. We're one of the very few podcasts that actually do that. And it's important to us that if you support this podcast and the RE YouTube channel and you're outside of the Americas, well, we want to support you just as well. But with that said, a big thank you to all of the super chats that have come in, and we are up to date. Obviously, they allow for us to do these big giveaways. Again, if you think about how much we're giving away this year, it's going to be over $4,000, and we cannot do that on our own. We take a lot of the super chats and many of the channel memberships, and we kind of tuck it away after YouTube gets their 30%, and we wait to do these big giveaways because it's our very small mom and pop way of giving back to the community who is so ultra generous for us here. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. Enjoy gaming on whatever you enjoy gaming on. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.